witness examination. Now, the legendary late lawyer, Mr. Ram Malani, had once told me many years ago when I was an intern um, that the art of cross-examination is dying. I believe that cross-examination of witnesses on the screen may possibly lead to a rebirth or a metamorphosis of this practice into a completely new art form. There are new things that we are learning about advocacy and especially cross-examining. There are advantages and there are disadvantages. Examination of witnesses virtually is an evolving topic, and most of us lawyers still swear by the advantages of a physical examination. But at the same time, there are situations where a virtual cross-examination is equally effective, if not more. And this is especially because, at least in arbitration and commercial disputes, examination of witness looks nothing like you see in the movies. It's a very calm, composed process which has a question and an answer, and there are very few high-pumped adrenaline heated moments. There are, but there are few and far between. And of many witnesses can just be examined on more mundane points. If we talk about examination of witnesses, honestly, I've done it. I've seen it done a few times, but all of this has been lesser than the number of times I would have liked before I was teaching this subject. But also, like, I still prefer examining key witnesses in person because of the ability to note body language, demeanor, and various other factors. But still, like many professional resources in the pandemic era, I think guidance based on limited experience on this topic is still better than no guidance. And when we were doing this, we had barely any guidance on how to do this well. And with this, let me share a few points with you. First, let's understand that while doing the exercise of witness examination on a screen, the witness usually appears bigger and closer than how it happens when you're doing the examination in a physical hearing. In a physical hearing, usually the witness is standing or sitting on the other side, and you are from a distance examining them. Whereas in a virtual hearing, you do have the witness right in front of you, and you can probably like bring the camera closer, further when you start off according to your preferences. And that has its own advantages, because in one hearing, we could see sweat trickle down slowly down a witness's face. And these things are very, very impactful. Now, when you're doing a witness examination virtually, at the start, it's important to ensure that the oath is administered to the witness. Sometimes people forget this in virtual settings, and this comes back to haunt them when you have to remind the witness that he or she is under oath at the particular time, and you suddenly realize that you have forgotten to administer oath. So it's very important to keep this in mind. Second, it's important to be extremely organized with your documents in soft copy, especially the ones which you need the witness to refer. Very often you want to draw the witness's attention to a particular document and say whether this is your signature, or what was the thought process at this time, or whatever, for various reasons, depending you're examining, chief examining or cross-examining, you will want to point your witness's attention to a particular part of a document. And that's done much more efficiently in a virtual hearing. And you realize how efficient this is once you do it, because trust me, very often in an arbitration, you have situations when you're telling a witness please go to bundle C3, page 246, para 4, last line. And then you're waiting for like another 3 minutes while the witness pulls out bundle C3, look, is the right page, goes to the para there and confirms that, is this the line you're asking me about? Takes some time. Instead, it's so much quicker. If you say that, please refer to bundle C3, para 246, page 246, para 3, last line, and then boom, in a second, it's there in front of the witness. Both this process is efficient. It cuts down the time, as well as sometimes it gives you the opportunity to confront the witness and have some very valuable inferences drawn based on their expressions and demeanor, being suddenly confronted with the relevant parts of such documents. Also, it cuts down the time that the witness gets to think about your question and prepare the answer for the question. Another thing you should do is keep an eye on the tribunal, either yourself or with the help of your colleagues, while doing virtual cross-examination. Because at the end of the day, it's not your job to convince the witness. You have to convince the tribunal. And sometimes, I know some of you may not believe this, but people actually forget this. And sometimes you have situations where counsels start fighting with the witness, trying to convince the witness that they are wrong. So keep an eye out on the tribunal, see how perceptive they are being to a particular line of examination. Now, what you do if your witness keeps freezing? Especially, what if the witness keeps freezing every time you ask him or her a tricky question? Now, and what do you do if you're apprehending that somebody's feeding your witness answers? Because honestly, there are ways to reduce the risk. I don't think, at least right now, given how technology is, there are ways of doing this foolproof. At least right now, with my limited experience on the technologies that exist today, based on systems which weren't necessarily created for conducting cross-examination and witness examinations efficiently. Right now, you have ways to protect against witness coaching during the hearing. And one way to do that, as we discussed, was having 2 cameras, okay, based on 2 different internet systems, because it's highly unlikely that both internet connections will freeze at the same time. So even if your main connection is freezing, you can see that the witness is trying to resolve the situation, and not just freezing the system while he or she confers with somebody else. If the problem happens with suspicious frequency and you need to take a judgment call at that time, it would be good to draw the tribunal's attention to that happening and sometimes read this into the transcript. That means your live transcript, you can read this into the transcript so that when you're making your closing submissions, you can take that out and quote it from your own transcripts. And you can request the tribunal to draw adverse inferences based on this.